So this is a woman that I see, and she does a lot of working in the yard or the garden, and she kind of has like a hat with some kind of fine mosquito netting hanging from it, and her hair is it's coiffed like it's long, but it's coiffed and it's hung in the like on the sides, but then it's in the cheek in the back. And there we got some dolls. Okay. Oh yeah. Oh my, look at this bed. Okay, somebody put little glowy eyes in the doll. How lovely. There's something like that as well. Or someone got hurt. And you know, there's so many things that happen, but someone got hurt on the property itself. So someone got hit in the head. There's a bandage. But I want to say this person was a soldier. And I just don't like, there's a man over there I don't like. So he's keeping his distance from me. But this is a black man too. So I don't know exactly what time period, because we've got several going on. Okay. So it's either they're very in your face right now, so I'm kind of getting them back off. I don't like that.
I feel them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're strong. I know you're. I know.
So, just getting them to back off.
Yeah, they did.
Okay. She says that's enough of all this. They're not gonna go.
Yeah.
They're not gonna go. They're living out their stuff.
We're in their space.
Yeah, it's time to go. Wow, okay, yeah, the men had it going on down here. I mean, like card playing, smoking, drinking, you know, it happened here. I feel this more here and towards the back of the house, maybe because they could all run out. Yeah. So if anyone came in here and felt negativity, I think it would be that. Like anger with men, frustration, sex, gambling, drinking, aggression, all that. All that. That's like an undercurrent that I also feel.
Yeah.
I don't know what this was for the first owners, what this space was for the first owners. I'm not 100%
It
sure.
existed at some point because someone Southwell built it in to the existing house, but we're not, it was obviously bedrooms and closets and bathrooms, so it was a living space, but we don't really know a whole lot.
Right, so that's what I'm feeling. Like this was where the people who ran this place would have had to come to be of service to everyone too. They would have had to be close at hand. I mean, that's me thinking this, not feeling that, but just that would have, and it may not have been exactly like this. It might have been much more primitive.
Yeah.
At that time, like you said, where the bricks were, and you said that kind of feeling. You know, but I also see like chickens and like this is a very working place. It wasn't posh. It wasn't as posh as what we think about these places are now. This was like the workers.
Yeah.
And kind of dirty. You know. Too. Everybody did. That's what they think when I see this in my head. It's like everybody looks like they got to take a bath. You know, not all pristine. Almost like
Look at that cardinal.
a fancy born, like something that would have been back there that looked like a fancy, but not a born. So maybe it was to give a little bit of this house look to it. But to me, it didn't come out right. You know, sort of like architecturally, something that would have had little windows up at the top with like, I don't know the word for everything, but the two big doors that would have opened up.
This house was built in 22. The house, when they built all these houses in the back on Charles Street, those were all built in the early 40s. So when they started developing all that, they probably built that house there. There was a house next to it, which we could walk over there. That was actually a whorehouse. There was a big 3-story whorehouse, which they tore down after we moved here. After Katrina, they had so much damage that they tore it down.
No wonder why those men were having such a good time.
Right, they were down here,
Sporting
going
house.
next door.
The sporting house.
As it's to the back that they could get out and sneak out. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the first time I came in the house, I walked in, I was like, oh man, this is so cool. And it was creepy cool then. You know, it was still, all the room, it was dark, and all the rooms were still, had all these little small rooms, and you thought you get lost in the house. When we first moved here, the first time we came here, my son wouldn't go downstairs. We think it's a bomb shelter. It's 8 feet deep.
Wow.
I went in the other day for the first time because I thought it was part of the drainage system. It wasn't draining right, so I was gonna get in there and pump it out. It's not. It's so I asked Dr. Weeks, who's 85, I was like, what is that? He goes, oh, that's where we put the chicken manure when I was a kid. So when he was here, it was being just filled up. So that wasn't what it was, but
Right.
from him as a kid. But they had chicken coops here because they raised chickens for the hotel. They had a restaurant and a hotel.
Well, you know, when I've seen those men playing cards and doing all that, I've seen some chickens running around.
They
there,
had they had lots of chickens. They raised them for the hotel. They had a
Okay.
restaurant. Well, Alex Patu, that's his the Frederick Hotel. That's his cousin. Right? That was his first
Okay.
cousin. So they had Patu's restaurant, but the chickens were for the restaurant. They
Wow.
raised them.
There was a lot.
Lot of farm type activity.
Right, and that's what I was getting. That's when I see those chickens.
But the
running around, I
little
thought that
buildings
was
may just be chicken coops. Do you think it's bigger
now
than that?
that's no, because
Well,
it was
might
like
have been a big chicken coop.
A coop like a
Like a big house.
They
Like
didn't have 50 chickens.
Yeah.
They probably had 500 chickens.
Right.
okay. So like you could have parked 4
Cars
Yeah,
in.
you could have
and like a
pulled
They
big
were
piece
long,
of equipment,
remember?
like farm
Inside of it,
equipment,
right.
inside of it.
Probably so.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
and then these little like
Little outhouses.
outbuildings.
Outbuildings would have been coops.
Okay, okay, good. I just like to know if I'm on the right track because I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of things you said were really on point, and I'll tell you after.
Okay, no, you're right. You can say that. I just want to make sure I'm on the right track some kind of way. I'm not totally coming out from left field and everything. Before I got here, I did some sketches, rather yesterday I did, and I wasn't sure about, of course, looking at the front facade of the building and those windows, I knew this had to be a jewelry store. So psychically, that didn't matter.
Right.
Architecturally, oh yeah, that was a jewelry store. That was a no-brainer, right? But I felt that this couple worried about money a lot, and you could see, and they were putting in orders. And sometimes it's like you're getting a mishmash of so many different areas and so many different things. This woman definitely had prominence, and she wore jewelry, but she had money, but they also worried about money. So, and so did he. So I'm not sure if they were with the jewelry part or if they were like with accounting, or whether they did a lot of different things. I feel like they did more than one thing. I do feel jewelry store all packed in at the front of the building, but towards the back of the building, it's different.
That was Rachel.
Yeah.
Rachel.
So, in looking at the picture that I printed about of the Chamber of Commerce, is I got this. So I got this nun figure and this man with the glasses.
And he's also very prominent. You can see he's got a bow tie. But it was so funny because not only did I get him, I said, my God, there's all these old men with glasses and bow ties and ties. Who are all these men over there? And then when I went next door, there's a whole wall of photographs of men, old men with glasses and bow ties and ties. And in my notes, I do talk about that I smell smoke. So whether it's cigarette smoke, pipe smoke, but I get smoke, and I wrote that because what I do is while I'm drawing, I also stop and I take notes. And I have to say, I'm only hitting on the stuff that really popped out at me because as you know, even like the downtown Tacoma on Main Street, these buildings have been so many different things. I mean, I could go on for days writing stuff, tuning into stuff, so I'm just kind of generalizing. It's not if I'm talking fast, but this nun, there's also a lot of clergy going up and down, from the front of the street to the back, and there were some doors in the back, okay? And in particular, this nun, okay? And I've seen a little boy upstairs. So we have children who maybe that the nuns looked after. I also get death and illness in the back of that building as well. It's very emotional back there. And of course we have, and also what I seen in the front of the store, I mean it was a store, but I seen it as lots of bottles. And then I said it like, wasn't just, they just didn't sell one particular thing, but they sold a variety of things. And also sort of like what I got at the other place, it's like, really, did men gamble and drink in the back of every building down Main Street? Because I swear they did. So I kind of get a little bit of that going on back in the back of that building as well at some particular time, and it was almost like, and I also hear a lot of talk about war. And because these buildings are so old, it could be World War I, it could be World War II, it could be both. But it's in the news, it's about war, it could be even more contemporary war, and war is big, it's being discussed, it's in the newspaper, and I see a lot of gentlemen smoking, drinking, and talking about war. And I feel this anxiety as though my son's going to war, and the people that I know, their sons are going to war. And I see men that are going by train to go to war.
That's next door.
Yes, next door, because that's where the men, and okay, so here we are in the Chamber of Commerce building on Main Street in New Iberia. And we're here, I guess this is like a lobby area to the front of the building. And the first thing I do is I'm smelling smoke, but not just any kind of smoke, I'm smelling like a pipe. And I feel like there's a lot of gentlemen that are gathered here. And this is an earlier time period, so I would say sort of maybe around the turn of the century or maybe the early 1900s that I feel this. And I feel like all these gentlemen know each other. This could be also...
Well, two things I heard. So I was listening to you talking and I heard that you smelled pipes. And in my office, I'm the CEO of the chamber, in my office, I don't smoke, and of course obviously you can't smoke in here. And it's probably been years since anybody could smoke in this building, but I smell what smells like a heavy cigarette smoke. And not on an everyday basis, not all day long, but every now and then. And I was told that my predecessor in that office smelled that too. There is a bar next door, but you can't smoke in the bar, you have to smoke outside. And my office is deep into the building, so it's not something from outside. Then I heard you say something about you felt like this area was not part of the rest of the building, I guess I'm saying. Well, about a week ago, we have some issues on the front of the building. I was looking to see what the building used to look like, and I saw pictures when this was Franklin's department store, which was, and it may have been something between Franklin's and the chamber, I'm not sure. But the front of the building, like most of the buildings on Main Street, was it looked like an open area where it was like you would walk into and the door was further back. It was not out on the front. So I thought that was interesting. But that's the only parts I heard you talk about.
Okay.
I see a woman, you know, with the little silver glasses, little cat glasses. And it seemed like I'm just in here and I feel older, and I feel like I need to be older because I need to keep everybody in line. I know we're limited to time, so I'm gonna try to keep it what I see here of what happened. So and my hands are getting really cold. So there's a lot of activity here. There's a lot of earthbound here. I think it was because this was their happy place and this was an escapism place. So I'm kind of getting that people still hang out and like to frequent where they were most happy or wherever they had that. Because you know, my hands are getting really cold. I mean, just my hands are just getting really cold. So there's a lot of spirit activity here. So you want to go to another place?
You know, from what I decided to draw every lot and you get all your paradise.
This was the woman, and when I was walking the house, I took another language being spoken. And then that's when they told me it was Lebanese. That's what they said.
There was Lebanese families here in our area. But my mom, my husband's grandmother, she said she built the house. What?
This must be at an earlier time before this theater was the theater. Because this area feels like a holding cell. Like if someone would have got maybe caught stealing or whatever, like I don't know, I'm not gonna try to figure it out. I try not to think and just feel, but sometimes you can't help but try to figure it out in your head because it's kind of stumping me. But I want to say that this is earlier, and this was, I feel like I see men being held here until they could go take the paddy wagon and go to jail. Or if they were gonna, somebody came and just said go. You know, that's not a big enough offense. You could just go. So it's kind of like a holding place. And when we physically look at something, we think about just this little area.
Right.
I don't know exactly the perimeters or how it was, but that's what I feel in this area. And that's when I came in and said, oh, I feel bad. Yeah. Because I feel like I'm waiting to my plight. I keep getting this phrase like my plight, you know, like that. And it feels male. And this is why I wasn't feeling good either before, just like this.
Yeah.
It just feels bad. Sure. That could be having an overlay. We think it's theater and it's because of that, but there's other things that happen here.
Did I say something? I heard there was a tree right there on the other side of this building with the Da Vinci's. Yeah, I was going to actually go walk outside to see the field. That's what I heard.
That's
With the Da
it.
Vinci's.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that
Oh
was an old
yeah.
guy, that was 1800s.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay.
that's
So
what I heard.
that's.
So when you said that, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that sounds
might be
about
it.
right. I'm waiting to find out my plight. Exactly.
was
Whether they're
a
just
while
gonna
ago,
let me
yeah.
go or whether that impending kinda, yeah. Well, it's strong in here. Yeah, let's walk over here. See, when I was seeing older people, like sometimes I'll see like what I'm gonna see, if that makes any sense, like what I'm about to enter. And I'm trying not to let that affect me, but yet I feel like this went on here. And this is a predominant energy, especially horses for some reason. So we'll have to see about that. This whole area, like I was saying about the 2 men and more men's clothes that were being sold here, this definitely, though, when you're saying that, has a more male vibe to it, this whole area. See, now I feel more. Oh, wow. As I get towards the back of all of this, I feel more Spanish.
as I'm going towards the back of these buildings.
Where it ended, where residential ended, well, I feel like people lived and then suddenly the commerce began. And I kind of feel like it happened somewhere along these lines. And then you would have had some commerce going on. So trading, auctions, that kind of thing. But this back here definitely has this more Spanish, and is it because of these objects? I'm not sure. But all these things have a lot of energy to it, and that's a whole other show. I read objects too. I
Okay.
can hold them and read their history, but I mean, we could be here for days.
Just walk up to this bed and the energy jumps out of it.
Yeah, you feel that too? The thing that popped out the most, just to say in this case, are the machetes. They have the most energy out of this whole case. All these bottles have a lot of energy. And, you know, of course, they reuse these bottles. I see more people washing these bottles than I do of filling them up. And it's almost as though there's someone telling me that, like someone saying, give us importance. We've cleaned these bottles. We washed these bottles to reuse these bottles. It's almost like there's a little woman that I see, and she's kind of like got her voice in my head saying, remember us too, it wasn't only the cows that filled these bottles, and it wasn't only the men who did it, it was the women who cleaned them like us. So it kind of, yeah, cool. And I'm just curious as to what really grabs my attention. You know, it really has a lot of energy. And it's funny because this doesn't, but that does.
Yeah.
This pick and choose things. And also too, when I went to the museum part, it seemed like everything became older, like turn of the century. And of course, I never read a museum before, so all those objects have an aura about them. They have an energy. So everything is like, read me, pick me. You know, its energy's popping out. So it's a little kind of challenging to read in the museum. But I did feel like that became 1800s and a lot of commerce and more dominated by men in that area. Going all the way to the river and back, a lot of wooden buildings, a lot going on back there. And then I came into this side, and suddenly I said, whoa, I feel bad in this little area right here. It's just like overwhelming. And I felt like I was a bunch of men, and I was confined to a small space. And I felt like I was going to be past judgment. So, and I kept getting my plight. I didn't know what my plight was going to be, and whether the paddy wagon was coming or somebody was going to let me off the hook, what was going to be. And I was so, it was, what's his name? He told me? Mark. And that's what Mark said, there was supposedly a hanging tree in the back over here. So that's got a lot of overwhelming, that kind of energy to it. And of course, you know, when you're looking at something that's got perimeters like the building, you have to get in your head that this wasn't all like this. So don't know where that feeling should start and end and begin, because we've got, it could have been a bigger space. So that might take you out into a bigger area and not just where I said. But that's where the really, so.
So we're in the lobby of the Juliet Hotel here in Lafayette, Louisiana. And, you know, I was told to come in the lobby and that I might feel something in the lobby. But honestly, it's not that I don't feel anything, it's just that it feels more light and more airy. You know, the energy has shifted here with more people coming in and out. We have sunlight coming in. So it feels like the energy has shifted. It doesn't feel heavy and like something tragic that happened like on the stairway or in the bedrooms and the hall as well. So, but here, I feel like, I know this sounds strange, but I keep seeing like the Thanksgiving Day parade at Macy's. I keep feeling like big expensive department store or like the Christmas Day parade, and there's activity on the street, and it's kind of got this 19 maybe 50s 60s vibe going on here. And I feel like I was prominent, you know, there was importance to this place, and I'm kind of turned around here in this place, so I don't know what faces where, because we came in through the parking lot in the back. So I'm assuming that that's more towards the Main Street area of the hotel. You know, he might have been 50s, again, around that time period.
Christmas.
Christmas toys. In my mind, sometimes you visualize things by association. So whatever I see in my head, like the Macy's Day Thanksgiving Parade, walking down, like seeing like big department stores like Maison Blanche, that kind of thing. And it's Christmas and it's Thanksgiving and it's holidays. In fact, driving over here, I could see toys in my head, but they were holiday toys, like Mr. Bingle kind of things, right, like that going on. And, the hallway seems kind of, the hallway up here, you know. I didn't really tune into it, but yeah, that feels like it's got some stuff going on in this hallway. When I got to the stairway, it got very heavy. The energy felt very much like drag me down kind of stuff. And there was a man standing behind me, big, tall guy, man of color, a black man. And I felt guilt-ridden. I felt like I was partially responsible. And I felt like this building went through like a metamorphosis, but it was just like there was a lot of structural damage going on. There was flooding in the lobby. It was all of that. Something happened that he took on some responsibility for. And then we got down to the lobby, and it felt much more airy, much more brighter, much more lighter. I felt there, I just tapped into the history of the building, and I just felt like Macy's. I felt like big department store. I also felt very wealthy, like I'm a woman and I'm very wealthy, and I run the show with her. So that was the two prominent things going on in the lobby.
Can I ask a question? Which ones do you feel are intelligent and which are residual? So where would we find some that may communicate with us tonight?
Oh, the man in the other room, right? In the 20. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
220?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
He's in there, and he's very intelligent, office worker kind of guy,
Okay,
with a sense of humor.
Okay. And what about the girl with the flip-flops and the black man on the staircase?
She could be residual.
Okay.
Just because she was in the bed, she get out of the bed, she put her shoes on. She
Yeah.
get out of bed, she put her shoes on. I feel like she's residual.
Okay.
I feel like the older lady, who I think is around more than in one spot.
Right.
I think she might be of some intelligence.
Okay.
The black man is just overwhelmed with emotion. And it could be just his energy could start
Right.
stuff.
Okay.
Yep.
Come on in, Denise.
Kayla Matherne, reading the home of Louisiana's first Democratic governor, Alex Mouton, in Lafayette, Louisiana.
This is fabulous. So the owner would have stood up here, overlooking everything that went on his property. This had to be very early too. Beautiful. Okay, so I'm here on the 3rd floor of the Mouton Museum. And it's just absolutely fascinating. I'm just going to go ahead and just start saying what I see in my head. And there's a lot of aesthetics to take you back in time here, and everything has a lot of energy attached to it. So it's it's a lot to take in all at one time and then interpret that. But I do have to say that I dressed appropriately, because there is a woman that I see who is all in black with the petticoats and very barreled out with it too. I see her here. I get this overwhelming feeling of stress going on with her. So could be someone died, could be she knew someone who died, and also I hear bells. I hear big bell ringing as very predominant. And I also feel like gentlemen would have hung out here. So I see that lady here, but somehow she's out of place. And I feel like this would have been, the men would have hung out here. So this is appropriate. I feel this cigar is appropriate here, because there was some smoking going on. I also see a man who's elderly, with big gray lamb chops, balding with gray hair. And even though I'm surrounded by men in uniform, he could have very well been in a uniform. And he also just would have been elderly here. I was expecting someone younger, because I guess all the portraits, and you try not to think but to feel, but I see him in my head as though this man would have been elderly. So I guess we're talking 1800s at some time here. And I also, I don't know whether this fell into disrepair, this top part, at some point in time, because I see birds up here. So this is me thinking that maybe with the disrepair, the birds might have flew in. I'm not sure, but I do see birds up here as well that would have gotten in here. And there's also something important to do with these bottles that I see. So I'm not sure if there was something that was maybe manufactured nearby, and I see these bottles here, but there's something that was made here and was put into bottles. It's a kind of manufacturing of something. And this might have been in later years. This might have happened later on. Yeah, but definitely was like this little area, and going up there was a man's world. That's for sure. So I think I just want to
want to talk about these areas on either side as well. And I think we'll go in the room that's in front of us here. A lot to take in. On birds, but I've seen some chickens running around this house.
Yes, definitely.
I did see, and when even up that far, like a chicken would have flew up.
And different families as they came added on different areas.
Okay, and it seemed like it was kind of, and I know it is crude, but I felt it was cruder up there than what it is.
You would be right.
Up there where the pergola is. My specialty is reading photographs, objects, and people get me. I've been to read. I read for an antique shop, some things. So it's like I could be here for like a month. And of course, I mean, unless, like you said, that belonged to her. So unless you know the whole crop, right? It's a big story. Yeah, right. It's just you can't. Unless you could verify what I'm saying by knowing about that particular.
History, I would have to walk around and tell you.
Right.
Which things
but just
are
it's like there's so much.
It's amazing. My grandmother was an antique appraiser and collector, and so you're kind of the same thing, but.
Right, and I've read
where it actually comes from. Right, it's amazing to me.
And I've also read when I was in upstate New York, and I was there on vacation, really. And I had two ladies that were doing a genealogy. So they found out what I was. Said, "Can you help us with our genealogy?" And I didn't know. I never did it. They gave me these huge photos like this of their family from the 1800s, and I got some stuff right of like people's professions and that sort of thing. And then I found out I could read headstones, and they didn't have a picture of the person, they had a picture of the grave, then I read the picture of the grave.
That's fascinating.
So places I've been into with the whole house. Can you imagine that?
You just never know.
You just don't know. But there is a young woman that I see in here, but she's speaking French. And there's another, and you said Creole because she's another, maybe they were like 13 to 16, and she's got a white kerchief and all that, and she speaks 2 languages. And she's in there with the young girl. They look very peasanty, and she's speaking French. And you're right. They brought some sort of animal in. It might be like a calf or something, like to nurture it, like to feed it. It was sick. It almost used this as though there was to take care of animals in this little building as well. So that's interesting that this would have almost been a vet place at one time.
Maybe so.
It's just, I know when you go there, generations have been
Due to time constraints, Kayla Matherne was not able to finish her reading at Governor Mouton's museum in Lafayette. However, Kayla was invited back to the museum to finish her readings, and stay tuned for future YouTube videos where you can watch Kayla finish the read at the Mouton Museum. Y'all enjoy. Thank you, Lafayette. Cheers. Welcome back to Kayla Matherne at the Mouton Museum in Lafayette, Louisiana, July 23rd, 2023, Part 2. Without further ado, here's Kayla.
Well, here we are in one of the upstairs bedrooms at the Mouton Museum here in Lafayette. And I mean, this is such a gorgeous room. The aesthetics are just so time period, right?
However, I don't feel like this was like this. I don't feel like this furniture was here. I see a lot of little beds in this bedroom. And I see an older woman. So I'm seeing different time periods here, but I see an older woman and she is laying in this bed, and I know it has wedding dresses and Victorian style shoes or 1800 shoes. But I see an older woman in this bed, and she's got her hair, she has a bonnet on, and she's got lots and lots of pin curls and a lot of issues with her teeth. And I feel like she had issues with her teeth even when she was younger. And she might have tried some kind of wooden dentures or that sort of thing at that time, or something kind of made out of, molded into chalky material. But and a lot of discomfort with my teeth. And also there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear going on around illness in this room as well. Of course, I get that overlay of also soldiers coming in here, and that's when I see this as all little beds. And I also see children in here as well. So, but very obedient little children, not running around and playing. Again, there's this overlay of fear going on in this room. And as I touch this, I just feel like I should say that this wasn't only for sewing and for sewing notions. That I feel like this sewing implements would have also been someone knew some deal of nursing to do with this sewing table, and they would have had like bandages and things like that associated with this table. And then I'm also sitting at this little table and I'm crying while I'm sewing. So there does seem to be this it's a heaviness of not knowing, fear. There was a lot at that time. But I'm surprised at that. I thought this would be all happy feeling. It's a beautiful, I believe this is all hand painted. And it's not like that. It's like I'm worrying while I'm stitching. I'm thinking about things while I'm stitching. And then I'm also like tucking in bandages. I'm also like maybe threading the end of that together, or cutting like muslin into strips, and then I'm rolling them up. And that's being put in here and saved. Okay, I also feel like there might have been something secret saved in here as well. So it might have been a piece of jewelry or money that would have been sort of tucked away in between some of the sewing notions to hide it. So very interesting. Look at this, over 26,000 pieces. That's incredible. And this must be her also. And I want to take care of the sick and that kind of thing. I got more involved.
There's been a lot of, there's been several families in here. We have the original family and several families throughout time. And then we have museum members that are now deceased as well, who bought the building and restored the building. So you probably have them.
No, and that's it. It's like archaeology. It's like sifting through the layers.
There's many layers, I guess is what I'm saying. So you probably are getting a lot of mixed.
Okay.
But yes, you'll have members coming through that, deceased members. There's 24 members who it was 24 women in Lafayette, and they're responsible for starting Lafayette's first library, the first museum.
Okay, so we
Humane
got a lot of
Society,
dominating women.
a lot of
going on.
strong women. That
A lot of
started
strong
a club
women.
of 24.
Okay.
It was 24 it started, so we still have 24. And when somebody passes away, usually a family member, or they kind of nudge who they want to take their place. And so they bought the house, and we've been keeping it going, doing our little tours and fundraisers. So you probably also, we have had several families, maybe 7 families who lived in the house, but you will also have members that make an appearance and tell you what's important from time to time.
Okay.
A lot of strong women.
Okay.
So you were right about that.
Okay, so just a lot of strong females, yeah. I think that in the sewing table really spoke to me in the other room. Again, when I'm in this room, which is decorated for an infant or a child's room, I don't see it as this. So I kind of see this room at some point in time as, I don't know, I see a curtain in the doorways instead of the door being closed. Maybe for ventilation, I don't know, I'm not gonna try to figure out, but I see curtains in the doorway that are pulled to the side. But I also see, again, several people sleeping in this room, so it wasn't just one person. I get that overlay feeling of war like I did in the first room in this bedroom. So that's what's dominating it here, is this whole talk of war, men staying in this room and in that room. And also too, I kind of feel, I know this doesn't sound very nice, but this almost would have been curtained off too. And I feel like there would have been someone sick in this room. So again, maybe that follows through from the first room, that somebody would have been put in this, and this would have been used like maybe a sick room at some point. And I just get this smell of that sickness and chamber pot, that needs to be emptied, something along those lines. And there's so much. I think, look young. I think he looks old with gray lamb chops. Yep.
Yeah, you didn't even come to the
That's
show.
the original
I didn't
owner of the
go
house.
upstairs.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so, yeah, definitely that's a whole man's world up there. And yeah, you might get, but somehow I get more audio, more smells, like I smell stuff, more smells, more audio, more voices, people talking, noises, carriages driving by, coming straight up to the front door, the sound of boots. The sound of boots everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. So we've had 7 families live here, and that's our little, the Mutahs, and then we had the Gerards, they were physicians in the mills.
Oh, see.
She kept saying doctor, nursing,
Yeah.
that could have been, this was his practice, and people would drive up and,
Okay, yeah, and that table that I read, I had to read the sewing table, and I said they were like rolling up all the ladies were sitting in a circle just rolling up all these bandages into little, and they put them in all the little cubby holes in the sewing table. And I see somebody take something and hide it in the little rolled up, like she was hiding something. I think a piece of jewelry or something, but also a note. There was notes. They would hide them in those bandages. I've never heard of this before. But that's what I see in my head, that they were putting notes in those bandages, rolling them up and somebody wrote a piece of a jewelry or something in a bandage.
Wow.
I know, I was like blown away. I'm like, okay.
That's really interesting.
They got their secret messages out of here.
Couldn't think about it.
The hidden Mouton treasure?
The hidden Utah message, right?
There you go.
I mean, notes to loved ones going to war.
Yeah.
I mean, what better way? I never even thought about that till I seen them doing that, and I was like, wow, I like this. Interesting
All right, well,
stuff.
let's start. Y'all gonna stay?
We thank you all for watching part 2 of Kayla Matherne, psychic artist, and Louisiana Spirits Paranormal Investigation Team at the Mouton Museum, along with Les 24 in Lafayette, Louisiana, July 2023.
Okay, well, the first thing I get is the woman who I drew on the picture. So she's again it's that 30s, 40s kind of time period as far as the theater. Maybe a little bit earlier, you see when you look at my drawing, I wasn't quite sure. I would say 20s, I'm not sure if that's just a tad too early. And that's immediately what I get in here. And I also feel like, I don't know if this was like I guess I should just go ahead and say what I see and then not try to figure it out, but there are a lot of kids coming in here. So a lot of kids. So I'm not sure if this was something else besides a theater, something to do with kids that was before it was a theater or after it was a theater or something, just because of all these little kids I see. Or were they coming to see a movie? But there's a lot of little kids all like this high, all coming in droves. And maybe they did this maybe after, I don't know. It just seems like it's coordinated, if that makes any sense. It doesn't seem like their parents are bringing them here. It seems like this was with school or something like that. That's why I kept saying school, because it just seemed like they were all organized. Not like, this parents coming in and those parents bringing their kids. It seemed as a whole. Oh my God, okay. I was trying not to see anything on Facebook or online because I want to come in and just fresh. But I did see this picture because it was all over my Facebook page.
It's really cool.
When I say, wow, this is really cool. I mean, look at this ornateness of the ironwork. Okay. Okay. Oh my God. Oh my God, John, look at this. Wow. Wow. I want to stop and take a photo. That way I can get some photos. I'm sorry, I got my water with me. But the other places that I've read for them, like when we went to, what was the place in New Iberia? And I had never been in New Iberia.
The Bayou Teche
either.
Museum?
No, but where they could identify the victors. They could identify who I drew because everybody knew those people
And the
who
Chamber of
hung out
Commerce,
there.
too.
But here it seems to be like a mass amount of people. Like the theater was like a mass amount of people. So it isn't like I could just draw this person and oh yeah, she's so and so, like what they did at Victor's, where they verified who I drew and who I was talking about. And I feel like here it's more just like, it's larger groups of people.
Well, let me know when I can tell you.
Okay, but here I draw these drawings before I get here. Here I have that man who looks like he looks like he's from the Western Union. Remember? Looked like a telegraph or something. But see, even though he's not a part of this building, look at all what you have in here. So a spirit like could attach itself to.
It's just a block away.
To something from that. But he does seem to be, yeah. Okay, let me catch my breath. Grab a sip of water. Oh my God, look how beautiful. What comes with it? There are spirits attached to these things, to some of these things, definitely, that that come in to play, especially this. Especially this one right here. This whole town has this war overlay, so I'm not sure if everybody freaked out. Young men from this town went to war, and they were hearing about war. And of course, I know this is probably World War I, but I'm talking about more like World War II. It was like the talk. It was a big deal, for the whole nation, of course, during that time period. But it would have been discussed here as well. I feel more activity back here. Yeah, there's definitely, see up right now, there's a man standing right here. And he doesn't have anything to do with this modern building. He has something to do with what I was talking about earlier. And, and he too, it's like, what's it with the minute got cigar sticking out his mouth, suspenders and some kind of, and he's kind of with a hat. And that too is another thing. A lot of these men all wore hats, so you really, it's hard to get a good look at them because it seems like everybody wore a hat. This guy too, which kind of might give him a more frightening impression because, when people, their faces are shadowed. And so if anybody was to walk in here and see this man standing like this, I get it too why they would be afraid, because anybody standing and their face is in shadow from his hat. So he looks more mysterious kind of person. So, and I feel like he would have been tied to the agriculture what I was talking about earlier. That's interesting up there too.
You can go up there.
I can't.
The public
Okay.
can't. The public can't, but
I
you
hear
can.
that click, 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 and I wouldn't be surprised if some of that was from up here as well. So, but those are the dominant, and there's a soldier or something. I'm so drawn to these helmets. The first one has a lot of energy to it, but those three do. And I'm not surprised because any kind of drama kind of that, it really leaves an impression on objects or places. It's just like when yourself, you don't remember your 5th birthday, no matter how happy it was, but you remember when you got in your first car accident or when somebody dies. It really leaves an imprint, and that's what I feel about those helmets. So it doesn't mean that they're haunted. I think they just carry a lot of residue energy with it. Oh, wow. Okay, let me key into this. Well, just by the energy that I'm picking up from it here, of course I can see the date clearly written at the bottom. But I want to say that I hear two different languages going on when I'm with this, mainly French, but I also hear some Spanish. Now this French that I'm hearing when I'm looking at that and tuning into it, I feel is like this person would have been on an island. So they're speaking French, but they're speaking like a specific dialect, and like maybe they were from the islands or someplace like that. But I feel like this is not just one person's hair, and I know sometimes they did that to
for this one person, but I feel like a bunch of women would have gotten together and put in their hair together to make this piece. I don't feel it comes from one woman. You know, I feel that same way I feel here. I don't feel as happy. It just feels kind of like there's kind of overlay. And I'm also picking up one woman in particular, and she's an older woman, and I just wouldn't be surprised if maybe she had the beginnings of dementia, like there was something like a precursor to dementia, something like that, but there was an older woman. And simply, I was also looking out that window, so I felt like I was an older woman and I'm looking out the window, but I'm just kind of having that pre-dementia kind of symptoms come up around. And so I don't know what all this was, or if she worked here, or what was the deal with her being here. And there's a sadness throughout this area back here. And I've been, I guess you could say, a psychic medium, artist, energy healer for like over 30 years. And I grew up next door to my great-grandmother, who was a medium, and my great-great-grandmother, who was a healer. So it's just, I think, in the blood. And I think they gave it to the most responsible person in my entire family. Not my brother.
It'd help us if you do like a 40-minute one.
Oh yeah. All right, I am rolling.
So Miss Kayla, can you just introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Kayla Matherne, and I'm a psychic medium, traiteur, a modern traiteur, may I say, among other things.
Here we are with Kayla. Sunset of Swamp Mysteries.
Is that a monkey?
It's a bird.
Okay. There's a bird sound right there. Don't know what kind of bird is that? You should know. You need your little.
It's a pileated red-headed woodpecker.
No, that bird's another story.
Mr. Troy Landry.
Doesn't it? Yep.
Sitting here with us.
Yep.
What'd you think about the read?
I think it was great. I do. Yep.
There's a little Cajun lady out here.
Well, she's kind of Cajun, but she's more part Native. Yeah. She's part Native American. She's got a lot of good mojo with her that stems over from her ancestors. I drew one of her ancestors. I drew that woodpecker, which is very powerful animal totem for Troy, believe it or not. Yep. A very interesting place to visit. And I wish I had more time out here with the big can off spray.
What happened to his property? He had a big piece of property.
A couple of small buys that would still buy a little bit, but 80% of what he would pick at the end after the 80s was for stuff like that.
Right. Right, more like crafts and art type
flowers
things.
and shit like that.
No, I looked it up because I bought an old chair and it was stuffed with this. And I was trying to date the chair to find out how old it was. So then I went to Google and it took me down this little rabbit hole about moss. It was interesting.
They bought in Fairport, they bought it, Mr. Wilbur Airbag, they bought moss during the 1980s.
Wow, so Google's not
it's like
totally correct.
When they talked about stop buying the moss, like everybody, there wasn't a lot of people left picking it, but it's like people were freaking out, like, oh my God, they're not even gonna buy moss no more. And that's about the same time the fur business went to shit in the late 80s.
Yeah, that's when my grandfather quit trapping.
Everybody used to trap, and that went to shit. The moss picking went to shit.
Right.
Shrimping, everybody used to shrimp.
That's
Everybody
true.
used to
Yeah,
catch
everybody, yeah.
fish.
We did a little bit of all those things.
All that
My
went to
grandfather
crap.
did a little bit of everything.
All of that
right.
went to crap. People made their livings with that, and they all they import everything from overseas now.
Right. Yeah. Even caviar.
Yeah.
Okay, we're ready for this, for the aerial?